It's December, and whether you're popping out for holiday shopping or spinning under the Zilker tree, comfy pants are a must. Inner doers. They're so versatile, I can wear them to a festive dinner party or to walk my dogs. So go now to shopdoer.com/CCAustin to get 15% off of your first order. That's shopdoer.com/CCAustin for 15% off. shopdoer.com/CCAustin.
Today on CityCast Austin, the city has a plan to eliminate traffic deaths known as Vision Zero. And 10 years into it, we've spent $125 million, and the numbers haven't changed all that much. So should we consider this a failure? My guest today says it's not that simple. It's Tuesday, December 9th. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. It's day 2 of our year-end membership campaign, and we are inviting listeners to become CityCast Austin neighbors. So, y'all, in 2026, we want Austin to feel like a place where people know each other a little better and care a little more. And CityCast Austin neighbors is how we're trying to make that happen.
So our neighbors are people who like to celebrate what makes this place special and who care about these issues that we talk about every day that are shaping our city. They're newcomers who are looking to get involved, and they're also longtime residents like you who bring years of local knowledge to the table.
Hey.
So if that sounds like you, join us.
Now, you've already heard this, but you know I got to say it again. You got to go over to membership.citycast.fm and join today. It's $10 a month or it's $100 a year. And to sweeten the pot, we're going to talk about these perks. Eva Ruth, what are the perks?
We've got some cool perks, y'all. We've got member-only events. So if you join, you can come hang out with us. And members also get exclusive weekly events in their inbox every week. They get neighborhood shout-outs where we'll say your favorite business or organization. We'll give them a little shout-out on
That's
the
kind of my favorite. That's my favorite perk.
I love it. They can also get ad-free listening and a dedicated thank you by Nikki Devon.
Hey, and if that's not enough, y'all, we're giving away one pair of tickets to the December 21st Rebecca Havemeyer and Stanley Roy show at the Paramount Theater and another pair of tickets to the December 31st Bob Schneider Great Big Spectacular New Year's Eve party, also at the Paramount Theater. This is a combined value of $440 for all 4 tickets. So join our membership program now for the chance to win one of these pair of tickets. Go on over to membership.citycast.fm. And if you are already a neighbor, thank you so much for your support. Okay, now let's get into this interview about Vision Zero. Hello, I am here today with Joel Meyer, Transportation Safety Officer for the City of Austin. Hi, thank you for being here, Joel.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
So 10 years ago, Austin City Council adopted Vision Zero, which aims to eliminate traffic deaths and serious injuries. How would you grade our performance thus far? Because I think the numbers of deaths and serious injuries each year haven't really changed. So what grade would you give us?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that the first 10 years of Vision Zero have had some ups and downs. Certainly when you look at the number of fatalities, especially that are occurring on our streets, the progress hasn't been as fast as I think a lot of us would have hoped. But I think when you really dig into the numbers, like you can really start to see some of the progress, especially with the serious injury reductions we've seen. 2024 saw the fewest number of serious injuries on our roadways over the last 10 years. And we think that's the result of a lot of the work we've been doing. So I think, the grade is definitely incomplete. We have a very bold goal of 0 fatalities, serious injuries. So that's always going to be our goal. But I think this first 10 years has really demonstrated some of the progress we can make as a city.
So I feel like I'm a native Austinite. So, I am definitely in the camp of feeling like we just have too many people in our city and our infrastructure is having a hard time meeting that need. Over the past decade, like we talked about, the range of fatalities and serious injuries has ranged from like 72 to 117 deaths a year. Like you said, last year was low, but then on this year, we're on track for it to be even more. So how do you measure success? And like, what are the determining factors? Are you taking into consideration the sheer amount of people that move in every year, or like, how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really important question because, right there in our name is zero, right? And so we have this really bold goal, a really sort of aspirational goal that we want to get to. But in the interim, we also need to track and be able to show progress. And I think we do that in several different ways. One of the things we try to do is look at where we focus our investments and our initiatives. Are we seeing reductions in crashes and serious injuries and fatalities at those locations, to kind of tell the story of like how we can scale that up over time. And I think what the data shows in our 10-year report is where we've made investments, we are seeing very significant reductions, up to 40, 50% reductions in injuries, fatalities at these locations. And so, really what it's about is scaling these solutions up. And that's going to take time, right? Like it took decades and decades of a certain type of planning, for cars primarily, to kind of get to this point where we have so many fatalities on our roadways. And it's going to take, several decades to kind of change course there.
So I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. You're focusing on problem areas and then kind of like attacking those problem areas. And then watching the success of that so that you can scale out and spread it out. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are certain roadways in Austin, especially our higher speed roadways that have the majority of crashes. And so we try to focus our investments on those. But over time, we're going to have to also look at like risk factors. So places where maybe a crash hasn't occurred, but there's speeding, there's dark conditions, lack of lighting, things like that. So we also try to be proactive. And that's a big part of what Vision Zero is.
What kind of patterns are you seeing in these intersections? Like what do they have in common?
Yeah, I think when you look at where the crash hotspots are, there's a lot of factors that are common to a lot of these. So a lot of them have a large number of lanes and a really wide intersection. So that just creates a lot of conflict points. It allows people to go faster than we would always like. A lot of them have a lack of lighting. A lot of them have traffic signal timing to where it's not always clear which movement should go first. And so a lot of what we try to do at these intersections is really clarify that for people, separate modes physically and also in time. So I think one example is like what's called a leading pedestrian interval. These are pedestrian head starts at intersections where we actually give pedestrians 3 to 5 seconds head start with their walk signal into the intersection before cars can go. And that really allows pedestrians to establish themselves in the crosswalk, be more visible to drivers, and really cut down on crashes. So there's a lot of like minor low cost things we can do at these major intersections, but sometimes they also require more investments, like with concrete and providing back of curb bike facilities and things like that. So there's a lot of different approaches we can take to those intersections.
And when you say investments, like what can you give me like a super like second grade view of what that is? Like when you say investments, like what are we talking about?
When we talk about Vision Zero, we're primarily talking about changes to the streets that accomplish several different things. We want to, have cars that are going safe speeds, right? We want to separate pedestrians and cyclists from fast moving vehicles. We want to provide lighting, pedestrian crossing opportunities, things like that. So, a lot of what we do is looking at like major intersections, for example, where we can do all of those different kinds of treatments in one place where there's a lot of crashes. And like at those locations, we may do changes to traffic signal timing and lighting and upgraded sidewalks. So really concentrating those all in one place. Beyond those intersections, we also look at longer stretches of roadway where we can maybe look to like reallocate street space. So maybe if there's 2 lanes in each direction for vehicles currently, we could look to reduce that to maybe 1 lane in each direction, and that would allow us to provide bike facilities or pedestrian crossings and really provide a safer street overall for everybody.
So many of us have the one person in our lives that feels impossible to shop for. And if you're like me, you have many people in your life like that. So let's talk about Aura frames. They're digital frames with unlimited storage for photos and videos. Best part, you can share these images from any device and they will instantly appear on the frame wherever it is in the world. Plus, every frame comes packaged in a premium gift box, so they do all the work for you. For a limited time, save on this perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off of Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, which were named #1 by Wirecutter. Use promo code CityCast at checkout. That's auraframes.com. Promo code CityCast. This deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is sponsored by Babbel. The idea of learning a new language can be scary. I felt overwhelmed by that. I bet you have too. I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and studies show that up to 90% of people trying to learn a new language give up. 90%. Fortunately, Babbel's built so it's really easy to get started and really easy to stick with it. They understand that people learn differently. So maybe you can dive into a podcast on Babbel when you don't feel like a quick lesson, or you can speak out loud to get practice in, or you can explore courses based on specific topics and even create your own customized review lists, all within the Babbel app. Babbel has made learning a language all about small steps with real wins and progress you can actually track and feel. Bite-sized lessons that fit easily into your daily routine and are also easy to remember. Just 10 minutes a day is enough to start seeing real results. I've been learning Spanish with Babbel, and it's helped when I've traveled in Mexico, and it helps me eavesdrop on my son and my girlfriend when they speak Spanish to try to fool me. No más, mi corazón. However you learn best, by listening, speaking, reading, or writing, Babbel adapts to your style and keeps you motivated with personalized learning plans, real-time feedback, and progress tracking. And right now, here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
So I'm curious, like, this sounds like a super broad approach, which I love. I love. It's like you're attacking things from all sorts of, like, all of the respective areas. Is Vision Zero an actually achievable goal? And if so, do we think putting a time limit on it is the best way to go?
We review, tens of thousands of crashes every year. There's a lot of patterns that emerge, and a lot of it has to do with how fast people are going, the risk factors I mentioned previously, lack of lighting, lack of crossing opportunities, lack of physical protection between users. And really what you understand when you're, looking at these crashes is that they really are preventable. Some are more preventable than others. But yeah, we do think that Vision Zero is an achievable goal. I think in the first 10 years, that was, setting that goal for 10 years, may have been overly ambitious. And I think that's what a lot of cities around the country have seen. But I think over time, if we can kind of expand, some of the progress we've made as a city to the state level, to the national level, I think we can really make some progress, especially as things like new technologies come online with automated vehicles and things like that.
For the past year, we've had a huge increase in the number of autonomous vehicles on the roads. And just recently, we saw that Waymo will be recalling its software after vehicles were caught passing stopped school buses. But it feels like eventually autonomous vehicles could help towards Vision Zero to me. Do you guys have any kind of data on that? Do you think that there's a possibility that eventually AVs could help us get closer to our vision?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at a lot of the behaviors that are happening with some of these severe crashes, it's things like drunk driving, egregious speeding, road rage, distracted driving, things like that. So I think having the opportunity to remove the human from that situation and essentially eliminating a lot of those behaviors, I mean, you have to be excited about that, right?
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, though. There are a lot of challenges here in this sort of new period where, you know, we're seeing the AVs having trouble interpreting hand signals from police officers, or just some of these weird things we all see on the roadway. Luckily, you know, we haven't really seen too many severe incidents here locally or even across the country, and so we're definitely monitoring that situation. One thing to note is that, you know, cities in Texas don't have the ability to regulate these AV companies, so it's really at the state level and the federal level. But we have sort of a working group here in the city that kind of helps track data, and we're in kind of communication with these companies to understand where they're going to be deploying these vehicles.
Nice. So voters over the years have approved bonds totaling about $95 million for Vision Zero, which says to me that you have support from constituents, right? Like, people agree with what you're doing. They agree with the vision. They want to see the vision be a success. Briefly, can you talk about where most of that money has gone? Like, what is the most expensive part of Vision Zero?
Yeah, you know, I think the 3 consecutive bond elections in 2016, 18, and 20 really helped jumpstart Vision Zero here locally. And that funding has enabled us to do, you know, dozens of major intersection safety projects, you know, hundreds of miles of bike lanes, hundreds of pedestrian crossings. So that funding is going to infrastructure on the ground that is making our streets safer, and it's improving people's quality of life. So we know there's a ton of demand for safe streets. One of the biggest resident calls we get is requests for traffic calming on people's residential roadways. So people want to see slower streets. They want sidewalks. They want to be able to get to where they're going safely. And I think that's evidenced by the support we've gotten through those bond elections. The need is way more than we have funding for. And so we've also tried to be very aggressive about going after grants, like through the federal government. Austin has secured over $30 million in Safe Streets and Roads for All grant funding over the last couple of years. And so that's been able to even do more than we've done with the bond, and deliver more of these projects on our streets.
I love that. Is TxDOT involved with Vision Zero at all?
Yeah, so we work closely with Texas Department of Transportation. You know, around 65 to 75% of the fatalities in Austin every year do occur on state-owned facilities. And that's mainly a result of just, you know, TxDOT owning highways, some of the major arterial roadways in the city, and just the higher speeds you see on those facilities. And so we try to work closely with TxDOT to, you know, find ways we can improve not just city streets, but also the TxDOT-owned roadways.
Right.
We also partner with them on, you know, education campaigns, really trying to share resources and focus on things like distracted driving and speeding and impaired driving. So yeah, TxDOT is a very important partner in all of this.
I'm curious. Austin is a driving city, and some of that is because, you know, for lack of a better way to say it, our public transportation system is less than desirable. We're trying, we're doing better. It's getting better. Capital Metro, they're doing all of the things. We have the train, even though it goes not a lot of places, in my opinion. It's like we never thought we would get bigger. So we never thought we needed the infrastructure like public transportation. So I'm curious how much partnering is happening between in Vision Zero with like Capital Metro and public transportation, and just trying to encourage less people on the roads. Is that a part of Vision Zero at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would point to the city's strategic mobility plan, which is kind of our city's long-range transportation planning document that talks about where we want to go as a city and how our transportation system can best serve everyone. And that plan talks about trying to achieve a 50-50 mode split by 2039. So that essentially means 50% of people drive to work and 50% use alternative means such as transit or biking, scooters, work from home, those kinds of things. So really everything we do here at the city is geared towards trying to accomplish those policy goals of having a more compact and connected city. And yeah, Vision Zero works very closely with our transit partners to try to achieve that. So, every transit rider starts and ends their trip as a pedestrian. And so we work closely with Cap Metro to try to install pedestrian crossings close to bus stops or improve lighting around bus stops and the sidewalks that lead up to transit. If we're going to achieve that mode split I talked about earlier, trying to get people to use alternative modes of transportation, it has to be safe. It's not just about the serious injuries and fatalities. That's a huge part of it, but it's also just giving people the confidence to know that they have a connected, safe route to use.
Listen, Joel, I like this load split. I think that our lives would be better in the city if we just had a more substantial amount of us using public transportation. I just think it would be better for everybody. It's difficult to get us out of this mindset of needing our cars. You know what I mean? It's very, very difficult because everything kind of seems sprawled as we grow. But I love this idea. And I don't know why this is the first time I've heard of it, but I love it. But I love it.
Well, yeah, I think too, we know that there's always going to be people that want to drive.
Yeah.
The land use in Austin is such that there's all people live in the outside areas are going to have to use their car, sometimes. But what we're trying to do is provide options, right? Like if you want to ride your bike, there should be a safe, protected bike facility for you. If you want to walk, there should be a connected sidewalk system. So that's really what we're trying to do, is give people those options.
I personally don't have a car. I share a car with my partner, and we have a tiny, tiny little Ford C-Max. Just like I love myself a tiny car, but there are so many large SUVs. There's trucks. There's 18-wheelers. Like it always feels like everything around us is bigger. And I think that sometimes it puts people in a false sense of security. And I have found personally that sometimes it makes people be a little more reckless, I think, when they think that they're super safe, not just with themselves, but pedestrians, with scooters, with bicyclists. So I'm curious if there's anything unique about our vehicle crashes. Do you see more just kind of high speed, people not paying attention type things? Do you see more pedestrian involved crashes, or is it just does it run the gamut?
Yeah, I mean, I think Austin is very similar to other sort of similarly sized cities. We see a lot of the same crash patterns. We have a lot of the same challenges with speeds and size of vehicles and lack of lighting. I think one thing that makes Texas cities unique, maybe across the country, is our frontage road system, actually. So you go to other states, they don't have these continuous frontage roads.
Really?
Right. Yeah. And so, here in Texas, we have this history of building out these frontage roads that, are relatively high speed. They have businesses all along the front of them. And, there's certain benefits to that, right, in terms of mobility and access. But it also, it shows up in our crash data. We have a lot of crashes on those facilities. And then just going back to your point about the kind of sense of security you get from a bigger vehicle. Yeah, I think that's definitely something we notice. And actually, a lot of people have sort of speculated that the rise in pedestrian fatalities really over the last decade or two, a lot of that has to do with the rising size and weight of vehicles.
What?
So there's been sort of a consumer preference for, not just big SUVs, but like mid-size SUVs and things like that. And so when people get into crashes, they tend to be more severe. Drivers are more safe, but people outside the vehicles are less safe. So that's definitely a trend we've seen.
Wow. Hey y'all, it's Nikki. I love Austin, and I never feel more connected to it than when I am going to one of our quintessential Austin festivals like Honk TX or Eeyore's Birthday. That feeling of deep connection with the city is why we created the CityCast Austin Neighbors program. Yes, CityCast Austin Neighbors is a way to support this podcast and keep it going, but it's also a way of getting more out of this city that you love. When you're a CityCast Austin neighbor, you get an early look at events coming up around town. You get to shout out local nonprofits or businesses you love on the pod, and you get to join us for members-only experiences around the city, like supporting Austin musicians with us at a Ham Day showcase. It's a deeper way of living in Austin and a way of making local your top priority. And you get a CityCast Austin beanie. So join CityCast Austin Neighbors by going to membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. After a long day of holiday shopping at local markets, the first thing I want to do when I get home is curl up on my couch under my Cozy Earth bubble cuddle blanket. Y'all, this blanket has a distinctively textured bubble design and ultra soft faux fur that gives luxury comfort and makes home the best place to be. Grab one for yourself and see. If you don't love it, you can return it with no hassle. But trust me, you are not going to want to return it. Plus, you get a 10-year warranty because once you feel this level of comfort, you want it to last a decade. So head on over to CozyEarth.com, use my code CozyAustin for up to 20% off. And if you get a post-purchase survey, be sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Give the gift of comfort that lasts beyond the holidays and carries into a cozy new year. So, what would you say is the most dangerous road in our city?
Ooh, that's a tough one. We have what's called the high injury network, and it's the 8% of streets that account for 60% of our road fatalities and serious injuries.
You said the 8%?
8% of
8%
roadways.
of roadways that account for 60%?
That's right.
Wow. Okay.
That's right. So, not surprisingly, that network includes a lot of the higher speed roadways in our city. So you think about streets like North Lamar or East MLK, way South Congress. Those are some of the types of streets that really jump out. But also our downtown area, just given the amount of activity down there, the amount of pedestrian activity specifically, we tend to see more concentration of crashes there.
Oh man, that is fascinating. That's fascinating because I as soon as you said North Lamar, I was like, yup.
Yeah.
And it's because there aren't a lot of, you can't really tell what the speed limit is, but then there's also like pedestrians, especially when you get towards like Peace Park. It's like people walking and it's high speeds. Yeah, as soon as you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that's a super dangerous, and it's not a highway, which is weird because sometimes it kind of feels like a highway.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, and honestly, like a lot of these roadways were originally highways. They were streets that were designed to get people in and out of Austin. Right. But now we've had, the population growth and the densification, and so our charge is to go back and redesign these roadways to be safer for that new context.
So, all right, so here we are. We are 10 years out. And so what does the future look like? What are we striving for now in terms of just like time? Like, what is our time limit now? Or do we have a new time limit? Do we have a new goal as far as where we want to be in X amount of years when it comes to Vision Zero?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, our goal, our long-term goal is 0 fatalities and serious injuries. And that's always going to be our goal. I think, we've sort of moved away from talking about a time deadline. I think there's a lot of factors at play there. We really need to be able to scale up these kinds of strategies we're implementing locally beyond just the city, right? We need all levels of government. We need nonprofits. We need the private sector, including, vehicle manufacturers, to really buy into this idea of Vision Zero. And so, until that happens, I think we're still a ways away from getting to that ultimate goal.
Listen, I got to be honest with you. I really like that there's no time stop. There's no time goal. It's like that. It feels like it frees up the ability to take the wins when they come and just know that you're on your way to the ultimate goal without this, like, we want to be there by this time. I kind of like that there's no time attached to it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's still a very urgent, goal. We still have 100 people in our community dying every year on our roadways and hundreds more being injured. And so the goal is no less important than it ever was. But I think, we want to be realistic and we want to be transparent about the challenges that remain. So that's kind of one of the reasons we've moved away from setting that time.
So my last question, as an Austinite, as someone that's on the roadways, from your view, what is the thing that as a driver every day I can do to help reach this goal or help just like do my part? What is the best way that Austinites can do their part?
I think one specific thing is just putting your phone down, right? Like distracted driving, I think, is probably the most underreported contributing factor to these crashes just because it's so hard to measure. But I think some of the data we've seen from like telephone companies is like 70 to 80% of trips are being made with people, bringing the phone up to their face and texting and driving. Yep. And it's just leads to such bad outcomes and can change people's lives in an instant. So, most people's phones have a feature that can, tell people that they're driving and not to bother them. I would encourage people to kind of take advantage of that. And it's a thing we all struggle with, right? Like our phones are very distracting, but the weight and size of your vehicle and the speeds that it's going can just really change people's lives in an instant when you're texting and driving. And then I think just at a broader level, just having patience with people on the roadway. I think we see a lot of dangerous driving behaviors when people sort of don't think about the other people outside their vehicle or even inside vehicles. We're all trying to get to the same place, right? We all have families, we all have friends. If someone forgets to use their turn signal or they cut you off, it may have just been an honest mistake. It's not something to get too upset about. And I think if we all kind of take that approach, we can slow our speeds down just a little bit and really get home safely.
I couldn't have said it better. I think that there is an entire part of this that is all fueled by just like these unspoken emotional responses when people are driving that are also distracting them. It's like someone cuts you off and it feels like they've done something to you, or they've like, it feels like a slight. And now you're just obsessed with yelling at someone and you're not paying attention to what's going on behind you. And I think that that's also a part of just like distracted driving and unsafe driving that I feel like we don't talk about a lot, or not a lot of people talk about. So that's a really good point. Yeah.
I think when you're inside of your car, especially, and you have your music on, or you're talking to your friend on the passenger seat, it's easy to forget that there's other people in the cars next to you.
Yeah.
And they're all dealing with the same kinds of issues that you are, and they're trying to get home, to feed their dog or whatever. And just having more empathy for people outside your car, I think, can really help.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me be nosy and get all up in your business. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks a lot.
Before we go, I just want to shout out our newest member, Julia M. Welcome and thank you for joining our CityCast neighborhood. You too can become a member and hear your name on air along with all our amazing other perks. Go on over to membership.citycast.fm now to join. And remember, if you join now, you'll be entered for a chance to win those pair of tickets to the Paramount Theater's upcoming shows. And if you're already a neighbor, again, thank you so much for your support. We love you. You are sweet little baby angels. Thank you so much. That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find links to Austin's Vision Zero efforts in our show notes. And if you enjoyed the show, as usual, tell your friends, rate our show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.